Welcome to Muvahood Unfiltered, straight shots, no chasers. It's your girl, Book Ivy. And I have my friend, my pastor friend, as I like to call him, Mr. Alvin Eddington Jr. We're going to get into his story of being raised by a single mom, teen mom. Also, get into his experience of marrying a single mother. Tell the people a little bit about yourself.
All right, I'm a South Central native. I mean, South Central means I'm telling my age. So LA, right? Born in the 70s, raised in the 80s, got out in the 90s. I'm a minister, I'm a life coach, emotional intelligence specific. I primarily deal with men and helping us navigate our emotions and emotionally regulate, on so on and so forth. So tell your friends to holler at me. I'm also a community activist. I do violence intervention work, faith-based engagement, and all sorts of things throughout the city and the county of Los Angeles.
Great. I'm happy to have you here.
I'm glad to be
Glad we
here.
can make this happen.
All right.
Okay, so that leads us to we got a
Oh,
toast.
got a toast.
Then I'm going to let you decide what are we going to toast to?
The good life.
The good life. All right, sounds good. Cheers.
Cheers.
Before we get into it, we're going to do what we call a Mother Minute,
Okay.
where it's basically this or that. So you're just going to choose one.
Choose one, this or that.
Okay.
Okay.
So steak or lobster,
Steak.
yak or tequila,
Yak.
Biggie or Pac,
Come on, man. Pac.
the Dodgers or the Angels,
Dodgers.
Lakers or Clippers,
Lakers.
Venice Beach or Doc Weiler.
Man, you trying to get me killed at Doc Weiler. Venice.
We're going vanilla or chocolate with your win.
Swirl. Chocolate and vanilla.
Okay, safe. We'll let you stay safe.
Oh, safe.
Inglewood or Long Beach.
Long Beach. That's the reason why I wear a certain color.
Okay. Talking or listening.
Listening.
Physical touch or words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your background, specifically being raised by a teen mom and the challenges that came with that.
So, yeah, I was born to a 16-year-old mom in 1973. So, actually, she was encouraged to abort me. But, my grandmother was like, nah, we're going to make it happen. And so her being 16 means she didn't complete high school. And my father was 18. He didn't complete high school either. And so I think that challenge in itself, looking back, had its own, kind of made its own life in my life, right? So education wasn't a priority because, that wasn't my family dynamic. Actually, I was the first person in my family to graduate from high school. So on my mom's side. So it just really wasn't important. But so I think it impacted my education. She also was a victim of drugs in the 80s, crack cocaine era. She was victimized by it. And so how that impacted my brother and I was we didn't get removed by DCFS or anything like that. We just, all of a sudden, we were living with my grandmother. Even though it was in the same house, right? My mother was no longer there. And I don't ever recall seeing my mother high or anything like that. But prior to her getting caught up with that, I never missed, I don't remember missing a meal. I don't remember missing a birthday celebration. First day of school, he was always fresh. Food, I didn't know I was poor, right? So I never felt like I was poor. So, my mom, in hindsight, for, her education and what she had to able to do or was able to do financially for us, she did a great job in hindsight. But the lack of education, I think, is what impacted me the most. At up until fourth grade, I got straight A's. Fourth grade, there's something that happens in boys specifically. You'll see a lot of Black boys are at fourth grade. They're deemed certain things at fourth grade or before fourth grade sometimes. But whatever happened with me at fourth grade, it could have been trauma. It could have been my mom not being there. I don't know what it was, but I stopped getting straight A's. I think I got 2 B's, but after I got 2 B's, the next year I would get, I was getting C's. And
Mm.
I really, it might have been because my mom wasn't there. All right. My dad was a weekend dad, so he could only do so much. And so, I think that that poverty and that lack of education will follow me because I didn't study. I didn't have a regimen of, doing. I just knew stuff based off of what I listened to in class. And so, with that, I still was able to get in college. I went to Cal State University Northridge, ran track there, and that's when I started like my awakening. But the impact of my mom not being able to help me see the importance of education,
Mhm.
I think I probably could have been a straight A student all the way through.
All the way
Yeah, if she had just checked on me doing homework, I didn't do homework.
through.
I would do homework in the morning right before school. Like I was a bad student, but I was, there was something in here though, to whereas I still was able to get by, and nobody ever questioned, why are you just getting C's or anything like that? I don't study. So,
Okay, so you mentioned an awakening. What was
mhm.
that awakening for you when you got to school?
So when I got to Northridge, they had Pan African Studies, right?
Mm.
So a Pan African Studies department. So I think the only thing I knew about us as a people prior to attending Cal State Northridge was the fact that we had a king who had a dream, and we were no longer slaves, right?
Mhm.
And the only other thing I knew about Malcolm X because an Asian teacher in 11th grade gave me the autobiography of Malcolm X. And I think that triggered or sparked something in me. The first book that I read through and through, and I didn't have to do a book report on it. She just gave it to me and said, read this. So I get
Mm.
to Northridge, and then I take a Pan African Studies class, an English class, and I'm opened up to all this literature,
Mm.
it's poetry, these black authors, writers, people with the painters. I'm like, oh, like that enlightenment. And they were touchable, right? I could be that. I do poetry, so I wasn't alone. It wasn't something new to my culture or my people. I wasn't an oddball, or like people didn't know I did poetry. I didn't tell
No,
people I did poetry.
you hit it.
I hid it because that's not what black people do. If I could rap,
Mm.
right, I can rap it. I didn't have bars, but I could write a poem on you. So
Yeah, that's crazy how just the, norms of where you're from or whatever impact, your what you feel your potential can be or, what you show to the world.
uh,
So you talk about Pan-Africanism. How
uh,
did you go from there to Christianity?
she tried to give me
I mean, because now you are a minister
mhm.
in the Church of Christ.
All right.
How did we get here?
All right. So the short story, when I started diving into this thing of Pan Africanism, I had went to church as a teenager. Like my dad, like I said, he picked us up on the weekend,
Mhm.
so he started going to church. So we started going to church. So I had some church in my background. They even told me I was going to be a preacher at the age of 14. They were like, "You're going to be a preacher." And I was like, "Okay." And so I've tried to do everything I could to make sure I
To
wasn't going to be a
not
preacher. You
be.
know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm going to be in these streets. So I get to Northridge, and I'm, learning all this stuff about black people, and I'm hearing different people with their thoughts on, Christianity is the white man's religion. And I'm like, oh man, that sounds right. Like it started as slavery and blah, blah, blah. And I just fell for whatever they said because it was empowering me. And I was like, oh, well, I'm not doing Christianity. I'll do anything else. I tried Islam, the Nation
Mm,
of Islam specifically. I tried Buddhism. I
mm,
tried, because I was in search for something, right? But I was also an activist in college. That's where I
mhm.
learned about activism. We did a lot of
Okay.
protesting, and we had a lot of speakers out. We had Dr. Khalid Muhammad out several times. Google him; he's a beast. Um, we had Minister Farrakhan, and we had other black leaders come to our little school, and so that's what sparked activism in me. But so I did that for years, like at least 9 years, right? So 9 years I was doing that, and then man, some light skinned woman broke my heart. Oh, did I say that on camera?
Oh, man.
No, this shit,
Gotta be the
no,
light skin.
man, I don't know. I got a running thing. We're gonna have to try some chocolate or something. But no, I'm joking, but I'm not. So this woman, right? It's always a woman,
Oh,
man.
Lord.
The woman, she she broke my heart. Like,
Oh.
yeah, my heart was broken. But that's that. that was a byproduct of me out there. I shouldn't have been running them streets beforehand. And
Will.
then I wouldn't be able to, I don't know. I think because I did so
Was it
much
a
dirt.
reap what you sow
Probably
situation?
so. Probably
Okay.
so. Like I would, it's said what Rick James say, remember I used to love him and leave him? I didn't love him, I just left him, right? And I didn't chase him, I replaced him. So
Well, she
anyways,
left you.
yeah, that's right. But that's what I'm saying. So then next thing when that happens to me, I'm like, oh, this is what we doing? Like I was like, oh, this is how this and look, I was born June 30th.
Okay.
Those people were born June 22nd through July 21st, somewhere around there. These emotions, right? And so we hurt like big time. And so, yeah,
You were distraught.
man, I didn't know what I was going to do with myself. I said I wouldn't do Christianity. And I started praying. I was like, I don't know if your name is Buddha, Allah. I don't know what your name is. I didn't say Jesus. I said, I'll do anything but Christianity. That was my prayer.
Still.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was not playing around with no Christianity.
So how did you, who pulled you on over?
It was God, because I believe that, the Bible says, ask, seek, and knock.
Mhm.
And if you're honest about, and he's looking at your heart, and he knew my heart was like, I really need you, because this void or emptiness I'm feeling right now,
Mhm.
nobody's gonna be able to feel it but you. And I was like, I just don't know what your name is. I don't know which way to go, which direction. So I started reading all these different books, man, esoteric books on God consciousness, and just diving in all sorts of stuff. And so one day I was at the bookstore and I heard this voice say, turn around. I was like, oh, heck no. Because when you open yourself up to spirit, you just kind of get all these different things happening. So I was like, the first time I heard this voice, it said, turn around. I turned around and I knew it was the Christian section. I was like, I'm not getting the Christian book. You know what I'm saying? Get that. And the only book I saw was this book by T.D. Jakes, So You Call Yourself a Man. And so it was like a devotional book. And it just talked about men and their struggles and their triumphs and everything. And I was like, man, I don't want to do Christianity, but that book, I need it. And so I got that book. Simultaneous to that, my supervisor was a Christian. I didn't know he was a Christian, but he's Rudy Haygood, who is Faith Haygood, my minister's brother.
Okay.
So we worked together at a group home. He was my boss. And I would always walk in there saying I'm blessed, because everybody say they blessed. I've been saying it now. I'm like, I'm blessed, man. Oh, there I go touching that mic. So I said, he's like, how you doing? I'm like, I'm blessed. And I was a manager of one of the homes. And so we had these meetings. He's like, you always talking about you blessed. I was like, I am. And he's like, I want to talk to you about being blessed. I was like, okay, cool. He called me on a Saturday. He said, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have work cell phones. Those little walkie-talkie. We had those. He said, I want to call you. Yeah, he had to go chirp. So he called me. And when he called me, I was at home in my living room just chilling. And he said, you have a Bible? I was like, yeah, I have a Bible. He's like, you know how to use it? I was like, man, what do you mean do I know how to use it? If I have it, I know how to use a book. If I don't know what the books of the Bible, I could just read the table of content.
Okay, let's take a look back. So how do you think like your experiences growing up like led you to maybe the women you chose, the relationships you chose to be in? How do you think that kind of shaped all of
Yes.
that?
So one thing I kind of knew but didn't know is that I had abandonment issues.
I knew it.
But I never really dove into it, because I'm like, it's not a big deal. I'm a conqueror. I'm a survivor. I ain't tripping. But in this last situation, when my ex-wife decided to leave, I was like, hold up. Like the common denominator in these situations is like women leaving me. So I need to figure that out. And what I figured out is that my abandonment issue caused me to choose women who I thought wouldn't abandon me, because I was going to come and bring something more to the table than they already had. I was going to bring maybe some stability, maybe some financial undergirding, whatever it is. I was going to come, whatever situation was, I'm going to make them better. I'm going to make their situation better. And because of that, they're not going to abandon me. Right. And I also chose women who had very rough childhoods. Right. And so my upbringing, having a tough childhood, and then seeing my mom and her issues and her not being taken care of, and and then my grandmother, she, I never saw her with a man, and she had, her kids were wild. They was gangsters, killers, and dope dealers, right? And so I was like, I'm gonna go in and save, subconsciously, I'm going to say my
Mhm.
mama and my grandma. I'm going to give someone something that they didn't have. A man who's going to help them navigate, their children, help them navigate life, so on and so forth. So that made me choose women who had a lot of brokenness in them,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And who I felt would never leave me, right? Because I'm coming and bringing, right,
Mhm.
all this to the table. And so, yeah, so it made me choose, it made me choose that way.
I mean, it sounds like trauma bonding too,
Mhm.
being able to, you know, bond over different experiences and
Yeah,
hmm.
yeah. And I actually did a sermon
Mhm.
not too long ago on soul ties. And
I
yeah,
remember.
so the soul tie, oftentimes we think soul tie is just, sexual interaction, right? So
Mhm.
we had
Mhm.
sex and now my soul is tied to this soul and all these souls, right?
Mhm.
Nah, I'll unpack that another day. But the soul ties that I was having wasn't necessarily centered around sex. It was centered around my trauma,
Right.
right? And so now we're bonded, and you have, because
Mhm.
of that, it's a trauma bond instead of a healed bond, right? And anything that is a trauma bond is doomed from the gate, right? You
Mm.
eventually, at some point, that trauma, especially if one person heals, if one person starts to heal and the
Right.
other person's still stuck in their trauma,
Right.
there's going to be a disconnect. And so,
Mhm.
those trauma bonds, me choosing people who, had traumas like we can identify, we vibe over traumas.
Mhm.
Like your trauma, my trauma, we got trauma, we get together. You're going to be my baby mama. No, right? But those trauma bonds were, a byproduct, of course, of my not healing and my not recognizing my own
Mhm.
abandonment issues and what other issues I had.
Okay, so speaking to, you just spoke about, your past relationship too. There were two.
Mhm.
How old were the
My
girls
girls.
when you?
So my daughters were 10 and 11 going on 12. So my oldest daughter's like a year and a half older than my her sister. And so they were 12, they were 11 when their mom and I got together. Well, 11 and 10, and then my oldest would, turn 12 in the middle of the relationship. And so they were basically 12 and 10 when I came into their lives.
How was that transition for them? How was it for you? Did you ever imagine yourself being with a woman with kids? Did you want kids yourself? Like,
And so I don't have any biological kids.
okay.
Of course you want kids, but I also, my mom, single mom, grandmother
Mhm.
single, I
Mhm.
think I found myself more attracted to women who had children,
Mm.
right? Because again,
Mhm.
because of my own upbringing, who wouldn't want to have a dad, right? Or have a
Mm.
dad in the house. And so yeah, so I think that there's a part of my attraction, a part of my trauma is that.
Okay.
So I won't say I intentionally did it, but I just was.
Subconsciously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was subconscious. And so the transition is like kind of still transitioning, right? But
Hmm.
so so they're that age, so they've been with mom 10 and 12 years, so they have
Mhm.
their own world. And so I think my goal was to come into their world and not disrupt it too much.
Okay.
Right. So there were certain things I didn't ask for, certain things I didn't speak on. I need this or I want this because y'all been doing this for 10 and 12 years. So I'm just gonna get in here and fit in where I fit in. If I
Mhm.
like my spaghetti this way and y'all eat y'all spaghetti, I'm not gonna ask y'all to make spaghetti my way. I'm gonna eat spaghetti and I'm going to go ahead, right? So I transitioned in that way. In hindsight, that wasn't the best thing for me to do. There's the
Mm.
blended situation I should have went on even in that. But I tried to kind of acquiesce to their lifestyle, to them,
Mhm.
because I was the newbie. I was coming in. I wasn't,
Right.
and all of a sudden they have, their biological father was around, but now this guy, he wasn't gonna call me Alvin. He wasn't gonna call me my nickname. You guys can choose what you call me, but you're not gonna call me by my first name, right? But
Okay.
if you want to call me Mr. Alvin, you can call me Mr. Alvin. If you want to call me Papa, whatever you decide. And so I think I had to earn the title dad, right? My girls call me
Okay.
dad, so I had to earn that. I didn't, and I don't take it for granted. Like to this day, it's that they honor me as dad.
Okay. How long did that take though? How long
I don't
that
remember.
transition?
I think so. My ex, I think she probably had a conversation with them about
Mm.
what to call me. I mean, they might, say stepdad to their friends or whatever, but when it was, one-on-one, they call me dad. And so I think that was more of a conversation, but I felt like I earned it. And how long it took for me to earn it, it was a few years, to be honest with you. But I had to challenge myself to not just be a guy who came, I'm the man, do what I say. I had to build my own relationships with the girls individually. Right. So it wasn't until I built my own relationships with the girls. With my younger one, I built a relationship faster. So it was probably a couple of years. But my older one, that relationship didn't transition to like I really felt like that until she moved away and went to college. And so that was
Wow.
the 12 to she was 19, 18 when she moved away. So that one was right. And so we navigated space well, but there was always just this, she thought I was trying to take her mama. Her mama was her best friend, road dog. And so I was constantly trying not to fight that, knew I was fighting that, trying to, win my ex-wife's affection. And like, I was fighting with this girl for my wife's affection. And so it wasn't until she moved away that she realized, and I realized that, we were actually really good because we had a lot of different conversations and we built a relationship centered around boys. Yeah, but yeah, so it was a lot of conversations, a lot of us just having quality one-on-one time and doing things. But I think it didn't have to take as long as it did. Right. I think for the first couple of years, I just expected because I'm the provider, right? And I'm not abusive. I'm a good guy. I should just be right.
Right.
But
you should have put in a little more work initially.
Should really been intentional about let's go out. Not me, your mama, and y'all. Just us. Let's go. Where you want to go? What concert you want to go to? Right. What do you want to do as an individual? And so I think that I could have fast paced it. So in hindsight, that's something I would have definitely did different. I would have been real intentional about my quality one-on-one time with each girl, and then collectively as well, like intentional, not just letting it happen, not just saying, all right, we're gonna go out to eat, but like planning a situation to whereas I'm taking y'all out. All right. So yeah, so in hindsight, that's something I would definitely have done different. So yeah.
I love that because that is so important when you're coming into a blended situation and really taking the time to get to know each child because similarly, so my dad married a woman with a son and we're all 3 years apart, right? So I'm the oldest and I have a stepbrother that's 3 years younger than me. My brother, he has a different mother, 3 years younger, and our baby brother, which is by the both of them, 3 years younger than the third child, right? So I felt like going into that, I never felt like being the only girl. She never like really tried to cultivate a one-on-one relationship with me. Anything that we did, it had to be, well, we gonna all go as the family. I could never say, well, can me and my dad just go to the movies? Nothing. It was always, no, we're going as a family. And it's just like everything really centered around my brothers because they were in sports. And I'm like, I'm the oldest. I'm the only girl. I don't want to be on the football field. I don't want to be out here in the hot sun. Can we do anything? Can we go have a spa day? Go get our nails done? It was never anything like that. So that's really important. And you kind of start answering the next question I had, like just looking back, what are some more like insights or some things that you would do different with the co-parenting and blending of a family?
Yeah, I wouldn't have acquiesced to everything. Like I really just, for the sake of peace, it was manufactured peace. I'm not going to express my disappointments. I'm not going to express my anger. I'm not going to express I'm going to just, I'm exist in this world and I'll figure it out by myself without communicating how I'm feeling and what I'm going through and what's going on with me. That I don't like my spaghetti with bay leaves in it, or that I do like my spaghetti with bay leaves in it, right? So I gave up so much of me that I started to find me in other spaces. So in church would be a prime example. Like I didn't cheat on my wife with women or with, life. I was that church.
You're just like,
I was like, so I
just be
found,
there.
right. So I found my voice, which I didn't have, and it's not her fault. It's my fault for not communicating. The
Right.
voice I didn't have at home, I found in church spaces, on podcasts, on this and that, this and the other. And so I would put more energy and effort into those things than cultivating, my relationship with my ex and with my kids. And so I definitely would have used my voice more as a person who used their voice in community and all that kind of stuff. I would use my voice more at home because I think that also made me give up my position. My headship position as the head of my family isn't just because I'm the man and I'm the provider and I can pray for them and, Bible study and all that kind of stuff. My headship included my voice. Adam's issue was the fact that he didn't use his voice when his wife was sitting there hollering at that Satan, the devil, right? He's talking to a serpent and you were sitting there and you ain't saying nothing,
Quiet.
right? Just letting it happen. And so I think that and me losing my voice and me not using my voice, it hurt our family dynamic in that way. So one instance is I didn't think my girls should start dating until they was in college. All right. And I had reasoning behind that. Right. But instead of me
Being
saying,
a man, I can understand.
oh,
I would feel that way.
if I had a son, it would be the same way.
thing.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Because my reasoning was, and I didn't communicate this, but my reasoning was, distractions, right? Especially for a young lady, the emotional energy that they would give that a young boy who don't know what the heck is going on. He barely know how to clean his butt, right? Like seriously, like so the energy that a young lady will give to a situation and the energy that a young man cognitively, right, can give to a situation and they're the same age just didn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense. Women mature faster than men. So, so none of these boys, the only way that she's going to be able to date is if she dates someone older who's going to be and that's not happening. So when she gets to college, right, that was, I should have communicated that. So when my oldest started dating, I said, I don't think she should date. I left it at that. She started dating and she still, hey, baby girl, she,
Gotcha.
No, stop, my girl. We talk about their relationships. Yeah, we talk about their relationships all the time. Right? So but if I had put my foot down and and then communicated, this is the reason why it's a hard no for me, and then worked constantly communicated that I think that she would have had healthier experiences and relationships when she went off to college.
Okay, so what advice, now being, on the other side of this, what advice would you give to women intentionally dating, women that have kids specifically? What would you give? What advice would you give when they're dating, getting into serious relationships?
Man, that's a great question and a hard question because a man can go all out, right, for you, all right, and just man, I'm locked in.
Listen, ladies, listen here.
So they can be locked in, right? I got you, and you say I have a child, and like, whoopty whoopty whoop, all that kind of stuff. And we all know about the representative. Expect every person to send a representative, right? Because they're guarded and then they're trying to get something. So expect it. Not saying that every person will, but expect it. Don't let your guard down too fast, right? Because if you are dating intentionally, then your intent is to one day hopefully introduce this person to your child.
Right.
How are you gonna know how they deal with children if you don't know how they deal with children? How are you gonna know? Like, so they might deal with their children great. They might be like great parents to their kids, but how are they gonna treat and deal with your child? Right. And this world is so crazy, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. You just don't know that person, like what their real intention or motive is. So I just say I'm saying this as one who's a man trying to date women. I have kids, maybe not. Who knows? Just be 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 intentional about your questions. Be intentional about your time. And yeah, you don't want to introduce every guy to your child. Now we know that's a no-no. But once you start to catch feelings, it's gonna be hard to reel it in, right? So you'll catch feelings, and then after you call feelings, you'll find out that he's a bum dad or that he's horrible with children and he mistreats. You know what I'm saying? So when you start to feel those feelings, I think it'd be wise for you to set up a park meeting or something to whereas because you're catching feelings. That means you
Right.
like that person. So, you
Or you
know,
like who they're presenting
or you liking
themselves to
who
be.
they're presenting themselves to be.
Right.
So you have to be like, oh look,
It's hard out here now. It is so hard.
it's
You know
hard,
now.
man. I know,
You're getting the
man.
taste of
Look,
it.
but see, this is the thing too. In my coaching, I try to tell brothers, man, look, send who you are and who you're gonna be and who's sustainable. Don't send a representative. Like
Mm-hmm.
I look, I might overshare. I overshare. Yep, this happened. Yep. I'm horrible at communication. I'm horrible at communication, but I can communicate. I overshare because it's hard out here for sisters. Like I know, we say it's hard here for men. No, it's not, man. I got like 15 in the car right now. It's easy.
Uh-oh.
Oh, did I say that? Look, if you want to be the 21st one,
Oh, Lord.
no. But seriously, like
Pray for the family.
pray for them. Don't pray for me. No, but seriously though, you know,
Ooh.
I think we owe you guys that. I think we owe you honesty. I think we owe
Absolutely.
you the respect of saying this is who I am. But we can only give you what we know that we are. A lot of us don't know who we are. We don't know, what I'm saying? So we're this representative that we're sending is hiding the person that we don't even know. Right. So I would hope that, whoever you are trying to allow yourself to deal with has done some healing work. We all have something that we need to heal from.
Absolutely. So, like, wrapping this all up, just being a man raised by a single mother, what advice would you give to specifically single mothers raising boys?
They're boys. They're not your project. They're not. You're not building a man for you. The type of man that you want. You're building him for his wife or for his life. So in loving on him, make sure you love him. And loving him shows that gives him discipline. It's not babying him. You can't protect him. You can guide him. So what I mean by that is if you spend your time always trying to protect him when he goes off to college and you're not there to protect him, then what is he going to do? But if you guide him, your guidance will go with him even when he goes off to get higher education. So just like you harder them girls and you raise them girls to be the magnificent women that they become, you harder them boys. Be tough on this because the world's gonna be tough. World ain't gonna take no breaks. So I would encourage to raise them boys and love on them, allow them to be emotional.
Yes.
Right. And I'm not saying allow them to cry over everything, right?
Yeah.
But again, you're guiding them. So they'll get to a place where they cry less, but allow them to express themselves with their tears. And if they're angry, get to the root of the anger so they can learn how to process that anger is not the answer and it's just a byproduct of something else going on. So what's really going on? Talk to them. Communicate with them, teach them to communicate because again, you're building somebody's husband, somebody's CEO, somebody's pastor, somebody's imam, whatever it is that you're building, you hold the world, their world or their future world in your hands. So you love them by training them, teaching them and all that good stuff. And, and definitely make sure that you are being affectionate with them and hugging them and loving on them in that way too. But yeah, raise your boys like you raise your girls.
I love that. I would have to agree. I agree because I know some grown babies should need to step away from the mother's
Oh, Lord.
boob. But anyway, thank you for that. I appreciate you for being here.
You're welcome. I appreciate you for having me.
We're definitely gonna have Alvin back for another episode of some sort. I'm thinking about some different things, but yeah, I think you are going to definitely be a reoccurring guest, so just get ready.
I stay ready. I'm from West.
Just because with your background and your different roles, I just think you have a lot of information to share. But that's it, guys. We're going to head out of here. Thank you for tuning in. Go like, subscribe, share, comment.
Holler at us.
Let us know and let people know how they can follow you on social media.
Oh man, I don't need nobody in my DMs, bro.
Oh Lord!
If you want
you
to,
might need some the men need the
Oh, they
counseling,
might
the
need some
coaching,
coaching.
you
All right.
know.
And the women might need some coaching too. Okay, but so
No comments.
so if you want to follow me on my socials, IG is A Eddington Jr. Facebook is Alvin Eddington Jr. YouTube is Alvin Eddington Jr.
On that note, we're gonna head out of here.
Hey,
Before he has to go repent.
Hey, West Coast. Toronto, we ain't playing with you.
Peace, y'all.